I think we are live. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live. My apologies that we took a little while. There were some technical difficulties, but we are live now. It is the 18th of September, year 2024. Let me welcome who I have today on the panel, which is Patricia is here. She's part of our core group of meditators. And welcome, Patricia. Let me read the question. Actually, let me read it from the chat. Somebody asks, Hi, I have been on the spiritual journey for several years now, and it brings a lot of joy, peace, love, and spaciousness in my life. But lately, I started to feel a little disconnected from life, my surroundings, and sometimes people, which feels scary and gives me anxiety. After consuming edibles, and I'm assuming this is like some kind of marijuana kind of weed thing, a couple of times I started having this spiritual realizations while being high, which I liked, and it made me feel less attached. However, a week ago, sometimes when I suddenly realize where I am, who I am, talking to, etc., it does not feel like being present, but reality seems like a simulation. I feel disconnected, like I'm in the matrix or something. I haven't consumed weed in a while, so I don't think it's because of that. But I was curious, is there anyone who's with similar experiences? And if so, how did you cope with that? Along to for the feeling of unity and connectedness, not this fake kind of awareness and distance from others. Do you want to speak to that? And I'll tag everyone. Thank you.
Very interesting question and share. I had, I guess, similar experience, but I wasn't taking any or smoking weed or any eating it in any form. So it wasn't because of any substances, but maybe the amount of meditation. So similarly, it's amazing that you realize, whoever's asking the question, that joy, peace, and love and spaciousness, this is what we want. And I feel that that opens us up to live in two dimensions simultaneously. So you realize that you're not that body anymore. You're not your mind, not your thoughts. So you're gaining that spaciousness and the distance from yourself and from any physical forms that are around you, and that includes people. So I do believe that the next step, if you continue on that path of spirituality, some practices that you're having, that it will get to the point that you will start feeling again like you won with everything, because we are energetically all connected. So, but before, but the pretty much the first step would be feeling separate, because you're realizing that nothing is holding you, like, ultimately physically on this plane, that you're something more than that. So that's you becoming more energy, maybe more wave. But I think ego maybe is coming in the back door and putting that anxiety and fear in you, thinking, oh, that might be fake because it doesn't feel familiar. It doesn't have that heaviness that it used to have, the stress, and then being so heavy in our first, second, and third chakras, that it's so, all the stress, it's keeping people very heavy. So now you realize that light and joy. So it's almost like you're not sure what to do with it, or maybe your ego just like, oh, what's going on with this? Let's go back put some feelings of anxiety and fear and judgment, because I see judgment, putting that it's fake. Like, why would it be a fake kind of awareness? It's just reaching another wavelengths of maybe frequencies, and just I would just observe it, really feeling it, but also continue with the practice that you've been having, and maybe, just maybe, some grounding would help. Because when we're flying high, you still, with a lot of meditations, even with Dr. Joe meditations that we were talking here about along many times, even with Eckhart himself, there's still this element of using body as an instrument of consciousness. So we still connect, either that being a breath or just perception of outside, feeling your body, and going, even after meditation, coming back into your body, feeling, your body or your wrist, and just coming back to this reality, because we are energy, yes, but we are also using the wonderful tool of our body on this physical plane. So, it's good to be in both realities in the same time. And I think this is what is amazing about being human, as human beings. So we are using this incredible body, but we also more than the body. So I actually was listening to Ram Dass on my way to work on Gaia, and he said something interesting. He was talking about death and dying, how people are afraid of it. And he said that he learned from one of his spiritual teachers that used this beautiful analogy that when you die, it's like taking off a shoe that was too small, too tight. So in other words, you are this incredible unlimited spirit, this energy. And yes, you are giving a body for this lifetime. But again, when the body dies, you're free of that limitation. So it's an incredible experience. But in the meantime, when body's still alive, it's good to realize that, enjoy it and experience everything you can, but also know that you're not just the body. So I guess that ego is trying to maybe here again just jeopardize it, where you're going, and realizing, I love the fact that you have that love, peace, and joy and spaciousness in your life, because that's what making it incredible. But also all our experiences that are stuck, either from my childhood, from the past, they coming up for you to look at them and maybe just free yourself from it, from your karmatic accumulations, if you want to put it that way. So that's how I see it. But yes, I do feel from what you're describing that it's pretty common for people to have that experiences, and I did have it, and I didn't even need to use any weed or anything like psychedelics or anything else. But I heard that it helps because Ram Dass was using those and he had some experiences. But then he was back very on the ground, honoring and appreciating human body, and also in the same time realizing his divinity. So I hope it makes sense, but that's how I understood the question.
Thank you, Patricia. Grateful for the wisdom. Good to see you, Sri Lakshmi. Good evening. Thank you for joining.
Hi,
I think
I was just reading the earlier chart which was there. Okay.
That is a question that the person has asked.
Somebody has posted it.
That's correct. I picked it up from one of the groups.
Are they are they now available online?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank
Go
you.
on, Patricia. You are.
No, she finished. So she finished with what she was saying.
So ultimately, what did you advise for that?
So one of the things that I wanted to say is, like, as we read and as we make observations, one, there is no judgment about the person, right? I want to let everyone know, like, if I mean, I want to remain humble, that it's not like the only thing I know is, to a certain depth, I do understand Eckhart's teachings, right? So my interpretation is going to be based on that depth of knowing Eckhart's teachings. So when somebody says, hi, I've been on the spiritual journey for several years now, and it brings a lot of joy, peace, love, and spaciousness in my life. But lately, I started to feel a little disconnected from life, my surroundings, and sometimes people, which feels scary and gives me anxiety. So that means the love, a lot of joy, love, peace, and spaciousness is not exactly from presence. Because once presence arises, we are the vessel of love, right? So there is love within us, and we are experiencing this joy of existence. So I feel like this is the part that I feel there's a difference between Eckhart's followers and Dr. Joe's advanced students, right? The difference is because Dr. Joe has a prescribed method, which he calls doing the work, right? Since we do the meditations and we have a path to how do we get to that brain and heart coherence day in and day out, right? Like every advanced student, the one thing that they do comply with is doing their daily meditative practice, being in that, developing that presence power, right? And what this is the difference that I observed between Dr. Joe and Eckhart. Even when people are hosting Eckhart's events, right? Like the people that are serving does not mean that they are following, each one is following the same set of practices to develop their presence power. Right? Like maybe the person that is coordinating the event manager to his assistant to his, I mean, is everybody understanding that? Like his executive assistant or his personal assistant, whatever you, virtual assistant or personal assistant, whoever you may call them, right? His personal assistant to everybody that is at the event, actually helping host the event, right? The people that usher you into the event, the people that actually guide you, do your registration at the event, they may not be following the same set of practices to develop their presence power, because Eckhart has no prescribed way of doing presence, right? So they are themselves at varying levels of consciousness. The difference I see with Dr. Joe is everybody, his event manager to all the scientists to all the nurses, even the nurse that takes my blood during the research, right? is somebody that does Dr. Joe's work. Does the meditation, is like they are probably at the second Dr. Joe event or the third Dr. Joe event, and is actually a participant at the event. The support team, the people that provide technical support, right, for his anybody, like they have something called Gift to Give Foundation, which is a foundation that Dr. Joe has started. Every member of that foundation is doing Dr. Joe's work. The event manager, along with whoever, like the medical assistants, the meditation assistants, the people that volunteer to do to help us out, right? They'll check you into at the door. They'll show you which way to go to the different events and everything. All of them are doing Dr. Joe's work, right? So that's the difference that I see between Eckhart's, what would be an Eckhart event and versus a Dr. Joe event, right? Through and through, every person is living Dr. Joe's principles because they're doing his work, right? But Eckhart's, anybody that is following Eckhart, they don't have a prescribed way of, oh, how do I develop this presence power? So yeah, maybe somebody is saying, oh, I have joy, peace, love, and spaciousness in my life, but does not mean that they are at that, they're developing that degree of presence that they can sustain the joy, peace, love, and spaciousness. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's what I feel. So once you cannot sustain that level of presence power, the light of consciousness or the light of presence is what actually is what transmutes anything that is negative within us, so-called negative, right? So why do we feel disconnected from life, my surroundings, and sometimes people, which feels scary and gives me anxiety? The reason why I feel disconnected is because I don't have enough presence power. If I were doing the work, like Dr. Joe's, like we do this meditation, Center of the Magnet. In that meditation, like by the time you do all the breath work and get into your heart and open your heart is so, it's a 2 hours, 40-minute meditation. By the time you open your heart, right, there is no more scary and giving anxiety. You're like complete coherence. Like your heart, at the end of the meditation, he says, let your heart inform your brain, right? Which is your sixth center. Like when he says, let your heart inform your brain, I'm like connecting with my sixth center, and I'm letting my intuition, my heart inform my intuition, right? My intuitive capabilities, so that I make the right decisions. When something comes across, I make decisions with loving kindness and compassion, no matter what the decision is, right? What I say is with loving kindness and compassion. So one is that, the first portion is that. So why are you feeling scary and gives me anxiety? The other part to it, this is as presence arises, like the new freshness of presence arises, right? What will happen is Dr. Joe says, right, like the body is the unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind is, the body keeps the score. One of the books that I think, who's that trauma informed? Terry Potter follows him, right? Gabor Mate. He wrote a book, The Body Keeps the Score. So the body is the unconscious mind or the subconscious, and it's going to bring up all these, you've been scared and anxious all your life, right? You may have been scared and anxious all your life. So you've been scared and anxious all your life, and now the body is gonna remind you, right? Hey, like in that movie, The Source, I really love the fact that Dr. Joe plays that you hit the clock, he shows a coffee pot, right? He shows a coffee pot, and then he shows us being in a car, driving the kids in school uniform to the school, right? Again, you hit the clock, like in the morning, it's 6 a.m. or something, you're hitting the snooze on the clock, and then coffee pot, like it's continuous. We are always doing something very automatically, kind of like the default mode network, right? So the default mode network is, if you were used to being scared and anxious, is going to come out more, right? Any kind of negativity that we have within us is going to come out more as the more presence arises, the more we are able to notice that maybe we were so unconscious that we did not notice that we used to be scared and anxious, if that makes sense. So that's why this person is probably feeling disconnected from life. But then the moment they feel disconnected from life, the wrong, it's not, there's no right or wrong. I would not, like, if I'm feeling disconnected from life, I am not going to go towards any kind of weed or edibles or any kind of, this is what medical medium teaches. And medical medium, actually, Anthony William, medical medium, says any kind of psychedelic, any kind of weed, any kind of ayahuasca, anything is a toxin to the body. Leave alone alcohol is a toxin to the body, right? So why would I put a toxin into my body? So I would not, if I was feeling disconnected, my job is to go do my meditation. And this is what Dr. Joe says as well. Come to my work, and I mean, don't do any psychedelics, don't do any ayahuasca. Just come to an advanced retreat and learn how to apply the meditations, and I will take you where the psychedelics take you, which is what the meditation, the joy of doing the meditation and getting in that heart center, right, is what it is about. So they started having spiritual realization while being high, which they like. It makes me feel less attached. How a week ago, sometimes when I suddenly realize where I am, who I'm talking to, it does not feel like being present. Yeah, because the presence power is not there. So I would say focus on developing your presence power. Don't use weed or don't use any kind of drugs to get you your spiritual realization. Actually use some kind of meditative practice, whether you do Vipassana. I know Lakshmi has done Vipassana. I know Ashok has done Vipassana. It has been extremely effective for them. Vipassana is something that even Eckhart suggests as a meditative practice, right? So try Vipassana, try Dr. Joe's meditative practice. I used to do, before Dr. Joe, I used to do sacred acoustics. So you can do sound meditation from sacred acoustics as well. I would just, to get out of the simulation, I would do that. Do you have anything to say, Patricia?
Yeah, thank you, Poonam. Yes, you gave that different angle, but yeah, I wondered, did you have in the beginning similar experience? Maybe not by taking weed, but just the amount of consciousness or awareness you reach during the meditation, and then kind of going back to the regular busy life, working. And I did have those certain moments when I would go back to my presence, because like my body was remembering, if I took a breath or something, some trigger actually made me go back to my body. And then I did feel that kind of disconnect, like, am I losing my mind or what's going on, kind of realization. And now it's better because now I actually feel more connected to everyone, and I'm able to be more present and listen without that almost little bit flying away. Or you know what I mean. But I didn't feel maybe that was fake. I just felt that it was like a different experience that I was not familiar with. How do I, in the same time, be and act, respond here and now in that three-dimensional reality, in the same time being connected in the background to everything, you know, to just like totality of it, and having that oneness, knowing that this is also part of me, but kind of I'm you. I read it somewhere. I am you from a different point of view. Like I am you from, right, because it is. So I'm looking at the other person, talking to them, and kind of seeing how we are one, similar, and just they bringing something in me, and if they triggering me, it's something I need to look inside me, but we are all part of one source. It's just little sparkles of it in each one of us. So I think the key would be now to continue present practice to get to that point when the person, the questioner, is feeling actually connected versus disconnected by the practice. So did you have any similar experiences?
That I felt different, like
When you started the practicing, 20 years ago, whatever, however long that was.
it wasn't 10, 20 years ago. It's like 13, 14 years ago, like 2011. So 13 years ago. I did not do a meditative practice until year 2018. I mean, I used to do 20 minutes of meditation, but 20 minutes of meditation is not sufficient. But I did apply all of Eckhart's, like when I read A New Earth, right? I applied, somehow Eckhart's teachings were so simple that I just kept applying it over and over again on everything and anything that I did. Just like we read last time, right? We read about that lady, about the lost ring, that she gave all her possessions away. So I was put in a similar situation where I told you all during group meditation, right? And I had probably, so this is 2011. Maybe I learned about Eckhart in year 2010, beginning of 2011, and this is year 2012 that I had to sell my house and move into an apartment that was like half the size of my house. And for whatever reason, somehow, between the fact that I had been separated and divorced since 2005, and the fact that I was reading Louise L. Hay and Dr. Wayne Dyer. I mean, I was reading spiritual work, but I was not deep into it. And then, but when Eckhart's teachings came across my path, when he said, when I read that, so I applied that you can experience your beingness when you give something so selflessly away. You can experience more of your beingness in that giving, and then to experience the joy of letting them have really good stuff, like good, all what you would have actually loved to have yourself, let them have it, and to experience how they would be overjoyed in experiencing those things. I don't know if it makes sense. Like if I gave my couch, like I gave my sofa and love seat and coffee table away to, and this was a pretty expensive Italian leather furniture, right? And like I gave it away to the person that actually was cutting my yard because I really needed to quickly move out of the house, right? So I gave it away to him. So I would experience them having it in their house and them enjoying that furniture, right? So she says in that a new word, she says, and this is why Jesus said, when somebody takes your shirt, give them your coat, right? So that exact feeling that it's okay, even if I give away my, if you're, they were not even asking for my shirt. I was just giving out. Then I gave away, I had a treadmill. I had like some more additional furniture. I gave it away to a coworker of mine that I asked them, do they want it? And they said, yeah, they have enough space in their house to have it. So I just like kind of like gave away things one after the other, right? So that there would be sufficient furniture in my house, my apartment. Like the other thing I've noticed is I like spaciousness. Like I don't like clutter of furniture in my house. Like right now, I have a big like I've moved from an apartment to a house, and so the living room is big, but there's just like a little love seat and one very small recliner in the whole living room. It's like just space. Like I like the spaciousness. Like my kitchen is that way. There's nothing on the counters other than there's like one thing of where I put like ladles and everything, and the paper towel holder. But all the counters are always clear. Like everything is put away. Like all the like if I want one of the like I want my juicer, I'll get it out of my pantry. It's not lying on the surface. Does that make sense? Like I see space around my like even this room, like the you'll see there's no furniture. There's like just a bookshelf and it's a huge room. There's a desk and there's a like I like that spaciousness everywhere. But that's again like the experience of applying Eckhart's teaching. So Eckhart in A New Earth says complaining is the favorite strategy of the ego to feel like superior, right? Like you're putting, even if you say, oh, the weather, look at the weather, it's so gray and so dark skies. I'm feeling depressed because the weather is so dark, right? Like some people do that. Oh, it's so cold. Like when it gets winter in December and it's cold and wet, they go, oh, it's so horrible. It's cold and wet. I learned not to complain even about the weather, right? So I kept applying A New Earth over and over and over again in my daily life. So you never see me complaining. You never see me complaining at work. You never see me resentful. You never see me, if he says resentment and grievances is another way that the ego strengthens itself, I will not hold grievances. I won't hold resentments. And I mean, there's a conscious effort not to do that.
But that
right?
requires presence. I mean, a lot of people just react automatically and they don't even know that. So you were able to understand and really take in, integrate his teachings and, become it, behave, right? Believe, behave, become. That's what Dr. Joe says. So you would, in your life, you would live it. You would live his teachings by doing it. I'm successful. I don't want to put a number on it, but I do see it, and I even in the morning, I during the meditation with Dr. Joe, sometimes I play his morning meditation, and he said, "What thoughts you don't want to think? Be aware when the thought come in. You'll know that this is the thought that you don't want to think anymore. So exactly like you said, resentment, complaining. If I hear myself wanting to complain, oh, the weather is bad, or this, like, that's a thought that I don't want to have. So let's just appreciate and take a breath. It's like, it is the weather, so it is what it is. Right? But see, the rain, sun, it's just a different kind of weather. It's not against you that it's wet or cold or rainy. It's just, and a lot of people seem to just talk about the weather and complain, no matter what it is, too hot, too cold, too windy, too moist, too humid, like, right? It's like the weather is perfect examples. Like, go ahead, you can complain. It's too dark, it's not enough stars, or it's too cloudy, there's a full moon. The full moon makes me weird. It's like million ways. And then it's like, no, none of those thoughts I want to think anymore. And then what thoughts you do want to think? I'm one with the universe. There is divine power in me. I'm love, I'm light, I'm aware. It's like you're starting to bring those other thoughts that have their different energy, and just start choosing, observing the other as they come up, but don't identify with them. And then just wait for the good ones that you prefer to have and look through that kind of perspective on life. And that helps your body, like through gratitude. I know that gratitude has a very high vibrations, and just appreciative, being appreciative. But Eckhart says through three practices daily: non-attachment, non-judgment, and non-resistance, right? So I replace, every time I feel like I'm judging, I would replace it with accepting. Every time, or appreciation. If I feel myself attaching, I'm letting go. If I feel myself resistance, that's the one that I would just do. Okay, I'm surrendering, I'm accepting. It's like, so it's different response. You start to feel it, and it opens your heart. It does. It has a better connection, heart and mind. That we are one, because what you, even Eckhart said it, ultimately there is no other. And like he also brings Jesus's quotes, what Jesus was saying, that what you do to the least of humans, you do to everybody. I mean, there is no, it's like, because you're setting up energetically certain things, and it's right there. It stays there forever. You created something either out of consciousness or unconsciousness. So yeah, we are pretty powerful beings. And when ego uses it against us, we lose this amazing life force, instead of standing in our power and feeling divinity and serving others. Because this is, well, by serving others, we serve ourselves. We're growing, we're expanding our hearts. So it's all about being one with the source, definitely not connecting. I also heard someone, not sure who that said, because it was a lot of information lately that I've been watching, but someone said that everybody is a god wrapped in human flesh. That got me. So no matter what human is, very unconscious, someone that even wants to hurt you or yells at you or tries to argue, you see through that ego conditioning, and you remember it's still a god wrapped in human flesh. So you're connecting on that level to that human. And it's interesting how it changes. If you providing that presence and stillness, no matter what the other person does, and you let it like go through you without any resistance, it dissolves. Like all of a sudden, the other person just like says a joke or turns around. It's like you don't even have to argue your point and prove your point, and defend yourself. It's such an amazing thing that we can offer to another human being. Just the stillness.
Thank you, Patricia. So the way Dr. Joe teaches the, like, let's say I said, I don't want to feel resentment, right? And like I'm trying to take myself back 12, 13 years ago. So something happened, say something happened at work. Say my manager spoke very roughly to me, like in a very annoyed tone or frustrated tone of voice. Say something of that sort happened, then what our tendency is to the human tendency will be is to one, feel the resentment, and then what we will do is we will tell that story to 3 different other people. Like you'll discuss it with another coworker, you'll discuss it with another peer of his, right? You discuss it with somebody else, right? So what Dr. Joe says is, okay, you felt the resentment. So first we have to have, when I say you felt the resentment, we have to have enough presence power, first of all, to actually know that we are resentful. Because we're just going to automatically react, right? Normally it'll be like, or you'll repress it at that moment because it's a manager of yours. You're not going to tell the manager anything scathing or anything back, right? You're just going to hold it within you. You're going to hold the resentment, and you're going to feed something in your stomach where, how does resentment feel like? There's like a burning sensation in the gut area, right? You'll see some kind of heat arising. What does that sensation feel like? So what Dr. Joe is saying, when you come back home, what we should do is play that scenario all over again, right? Play that scenario all over again, and then experience how are we going to act the next time something of that nature happens. Does that make sense? So let's say my son spoke in a very rough manner, very rude, and kids these days, they don't have that kind of like when I was a kid, like the generation we were, we would not even say a word to our parent. I'm sure Sri Lakshmi is aware of it, right? Not a single word back. But these kids say things back, right? So so if you feel anger towards your kid, when the kid is saying something back, like saying profanity back or saying something, oh, I don't like you, or I don't care about that. I don't want to be with you.
You are so mean is the comment.
You're so mean. You're so mean. I hate you. Like my son, when he was little, the moment I would take his games away as a discipline method, right? He would like, I hate you, kind of. So when we get that anger, right? Like that, how is this kid not respecting that I'm his mother? Like those thoughts will come, right? That's the conditioned pattern. That's the karmic accumulation, because our parents have put that conditioning within us that a child should not talk to their parent in that manner. But
Yes.
what is that spiritual teacher teaching us in the form of the child? That we have that karmic conditioning. He's just pointing us towards karmic conditioning, right? So that's, but what Dr. Joe would say is next time that happens, how are you going to experience your child, right? The next time that, so whenever my son used to say that, I would always say, but I love you. I love you very much. Right? He may say, I hate you, and he'll just storm away, right? He'll storm away, but like he'll, you know, they kind of like show their anger physically as well, like in their body, and then they walk away, right? So, and he'll go into his room and close his door. I let
Bang.
him bang the door or close the door like forcefully. And then I'll just let him be. Within 15, 20 minutes, he'll come back. When that pain body subsides, right? They'll come back. Then just imagine if I would have held resentment and I would have told him, oh, yeah, you hate me? I hate you too. What would have happened?
It deteriorates.
Right?
It just would make it last longer, and it was like, who's the right one? The power struggle. Who's, I'm the mother, you're the child. You have to apologize and not
Right.
talk to. It's like there is
Right.
so many different ways that could have played, but none of them would be that.
So all Dr. Joe is saying is always replay. If you reacted, replay the reaction and learn how would you act the next time.
Yes.
So then, so the replay of it, the way I would, now that we understand, we've talked a lot about soul contracts and why each person, each challenging unconscious human being exists in our life. They're just a spiritual teacher showing us our own karmic conditioning. So if somebody rejects me, right? Like somebody says, oh, like a couple of months back, somebody said, you don't need to do this. We don't want you to be part of this kind of thing. I don't think you have time to do this certain work, right? So once they said that, like initially, even my ego said, I cannot believe like I do such excellent work. How is it that they're not accepting it? But then it came back that they are my greatest spiritual teacher in showing me where, look, my ego is still arising, that I want to show that I'm a really good worker, right? So I let it go. I said, that's the lesson that they are showing me, that still I'm attached to that being a good, really good, dedicated person, right? Dedicated human being. So I send them love. The same thing, like send them a lot of out of your brain and heart coherence. That's my thing. The moment you have like some kind of negativity towards somebody, like shower them with love. Shower them, see them, send love from your heart to them, and like shower them, like Carolyn May says, right? Shower them with rose petals. With have that much forgiveness, like shower them with rose petals. When you shower them with rose petals, it'll just, next minute, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine with that person. But the believe, behave, become is all about that. You believe a new way of thinking, right? I'm not going to think that thought. Like if he had a thought of like what is what is something that I can believe, behave, and become? So if I believe that, let me take your example, Patricia. Like, oh, I'm not gonna have any relationships whatsoever, right? That's my negative, negative, let's say, limiting belief, right? That I'm not gonna have any relationships whatsoever. There's nobody in my life. Let's say I'm thinking of that this thing. So what is the believe, behave, become? So I'm gonna believe in every time that I have a bonding connection. Like if I have a bonded connection with Vidya, I have a bonded connection with Melba. Every time I have a bonded connection, then I'm believing, I'm living that they are relationships that I'm having a bonded connection with Patricia. I have a bonded connection with, like I message so many people, like help them out, right? When I have those bonded connections, then I'm believing, then I'm acting out with love, right? I say much love to you, much love to you. I'm acting out, behave, become, then I become a person who is very loving. That's how you overwrite. You no longer ever think that, oh, I don't have any relationships. Because there's so many relationships, we are not recognizing, appreciating, having gratitude for the amount of relationships that we are developing through the group meditation group. Right? Bradley just recently joined, Donna recently joined, right? We are not accepting, like Sri Lakshmi is joined, like continuously Sri Lakshmi is there, Lakshmi is there, Ashok is always there. So like the bond and connection, so that's how you believe, behave, become. The belief is to overwrite the limiting belief, whatever the limiting belief may be. The limiting belief may be, oh, I don't have any, what were you saying before now? I don't have anybody to hug me, right? So if you say, so the belief is to go find all the people, like go to work and just tell your your owner, hey, can I have a hug? Can I hug you? Or like I would do that with my coworker. Like if I would to go to lunch with them, I'll just hug them. Or thank you, I'll thank them and I'll hug them that we had a good uh, lunch together, right? Like the guy who arranges for the lunch, I'll just hug him for.
It was
So
very, very interesting because in my previous job, that
mhm.
actually interesting to bring me up because I was doing that. I was very open, helpful. And even though I did not have a partner, I was just going through the divorce. I was, offering my time, laughter, and questions how they are, like either a lunch area or something. And yeah, people would naturally would like hug and stuff. But then I was disciplined by my boss who said, Patricia, you're in position of manager. I have cameras. You cannot be touching anyone. Like I said, I understand. And I stopped. So I would just offer, just my appreciation to them just verbally, without, you know,
I
but
mean, they said that even if it was a woman, if you hugged a woman, you
yeah.
can hug a woman.
One of them had like a very bad, like a little neck thing. It's like, oh, I said, I was like, do you want me to just massage? I was like, yes, please. So I just kind of like walked with her. It was very nice lady. And she's like, oh, thank you, Patricia. And then I was like, Patricia, you cannot do that. I was like, I felt like, what did I do? I'm like, it wasn't, yeah, but so, yeah. It was a bigger company. So, it was very strict with policies, but I guess it happened before that someone was, so
Somebody must have sued them for sexual harassment or something, right? That's
yeah.
what happens. But like you can go off site and like when you're at lunch, go have lunch with them and then give them a hug. You're not on site, right? So
I mean, I honestly don't, if it doesn't come naturally, it doesn't. Right now, I don't need that. I just give everyone appreciation, my time, my gratitude for their work, and I showered them with, you know, words like that, and stay very just nice and kind. So that seems to be helpful, and more they're trusting me, and that's what I want. And it's not even my goal to be liked. It's just I see that it brings me joy to pour it, instead of, because again, when I started it, everybody was gossiping, blaming, pointing fingers, complaining, like, shoot. And I kind of gradually just put the stop to it, because I did not participate in that. I just like, I understand, I hear you. And then I would like, what can we do to make it better? How can we fix it? It's like, and we started little things, little changes. Oh, Patricia, this place never will. I said, just trust a little bit. What can you do to make it better? What can I do? Like always, and it's going into the right direction. So it's so maybe I'm not getting hugs, but I do get from certain people that were just the most distrustful. They would say, Patricia, since you started working here, things are starting to get better. And that's like, it was nice to hear, but I didn't like, I moved on. It wasn't like thing that I was expecting. You know what I mean? It's not something, it's interesting how this not attaching, because bad, good, whatever, it's still an attachment. But not, it's like, thank you for saying that, but if you didn't, it would be just as well. Right? It's interesting how it starts to free me. But then I shared with Poonam quickly before we started the live that the tree that I asked to hug was right very conveniently very close to the parking spot that I got sick, and they just cut it this today. So when I came back, I just see logs of wood cut.
Did
The tree
you
is
go pick up one log and bring it home? Just to remember the tree with?
Oh my God, I was thinking, but the logs are huge. They didn't have any small piece, but I
Okay.
got a little branch. I know this is not enough to hug, but that's the only small part.
You can hug that little branch. Yeah, you can hug that little branch.
That's, yeah, but
But
thank you for putting me in the right perspective that it's, yeah, it's exactly, impermanence of form.
and the fact that what I see in you is you are very structured. Like if something you want permanence or form. Like I see you like in the morning, you want your lemon water, your celery juice, your heavy metal detox smoothie. You've never deviated from that. Like my morning is very flexible. Like I don't know what I'm gonna have for breakfast. Yeah, may have. It's never the same.
I
It's
do
like
deviate,
whatever.
I do deviate. I don't have any more heavy metal
No,
smoothie
no,
every day, so.
but just imagine for how long have you done? They
Yes.
have like the routine, like anytime, anything. So and then you want to get to work, you want to come back. Something happens, like if your car breaks down or something, your world falls apart, right? Anything out of the ordinary, like you want things to be exactly how they are. And what in New Earth, we read about it. Eckhart talks about all structures are unstable, right? Back to the impermanence of form. He was in a Malibu, somewhere in a garden or something, and he sees some house or some structure, and on that they had a label that says all structures are unstable. And he says, how truthful is that, right? So the more we understand the impermanence of form and non-attachment, don't be attached, live with the world of form with a certain amount of
I mean,
detachment.
even realizing that, we really don't think about the fact that every day, how many cells in our bodies die, right?
Mhm.
And new are born, and we don't even realize it, but that's how it's happening. They're constant rebuilding and dying. It's like there's this process is happening within us.
Exactly.
7 years, I understand, no? The cell's life.
Mhm.
This
Every
is
7 years, the whole
Yeah.
body is rebuilt.
Ah,
That's correct. Okay, it's getting late. I know it's getting late for you, Patricia. It's getting late for Sri Lakshmi. She needs to go to bed as well. So thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity. Eternally grateful that both of you are here. And
Thank
there were a few people online. Much love.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much.
Poonam. Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful
Thank you.
evening.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Many blessings.